Welcome back to part two of our uh, foods and feeding and dentition and digestive tract overview. So we're ready now to put the two pieces together, the different kinds of digestive tracts together with the types of food eaten. And so we're going to be looking at teeth and tongue, stomach, intestines, and the cecum. So for insectivorous mammals, the teeth tend to be very numerous. They're spiky in shape, kind of triangular and sharp, and the incisors are procumbent. That means that in the front of the mouth, the incisors kind of stick out really far. So we'll look at a couple of examples. So here's a shrew, and you can see, or a mole. Is it a mole? Yes. You can see the spiky teeth, kind of triangular in shape. And in the shrew example, you can get a really good look at how they're procumbent. Those front incisors stick out really far. Another interesting thing about the teeth is that they all tend to be about the same length. So the canine teeth are actually no bigger than the incisors. If we look at the rest of the digestive tract of insectivores, there's nothing particularly remarkable about the tongue. The stomach is simple, so it's one pouch. The intestines are fairly short, and the cecum is mostly lacking. And none of this is surprising. Animal material, and insects are animals, is very easy to digest, whereas plant material is harder to digest. So mammalian species that eat animals tend to have more simple digestive tracts, shorter and more simple. If we look at the special case of myrmecophagy eating ants and termites, we see something completely different though. If you look in the mouth of myrmecophagous mammals, teeth are either absent or highly reduced in number. And if they have any teeth at all, the teeth just look like simple pegs. They don't have any complex structure. So our example here is a tamandua, which is a type of anteater. This is looking at the roof of the mouth. So this is the cranium here. And you'll see that there are no teeth at all in the cranium, and there's no teeth in the mandible either. It has no teeth because it doesn't process its food in its mouth. It just swallows everything down. So going along with that, it has a lot of specializations that we don't see in other insectivores. Its tongue is extremely long, sometimes a couple of feet long, depending on the species, and it's able to stick its tongue in and out of its mouth very, very rapidly, like 150 times in a minute. The tongue is covered with sticky saliva that's produced by large salivary glands. And so the insects and the termites, ants and termites, stick to that saliva and get slurped back into the mouth of the anteater or other myrmecophagous mammal. After the insects are swallowed, they move to the stomach. And the stomach is a simple stomach, so it's only one pouch, but it is specialized on the inside to have a lot of keratin, very roughened interior to the stomach, that because the stomach is muscular, when the stomach kind of contracts, it's basically squishing up the ants and termites in the stomach. So it's breaking up the chitin exoskeleton, almost like teeth on the inside of its stomach. Then because plant material or animal material is easy to digest, the intestines are short and the cecum is small or lacking. There isn't a great need to digest plant material with a complex intestinal tract. Looking now at terrestrial carnivores, these are things like wolves and lions. They have sharp incisors, long cone-shaped canine teeth. Their cheek teeth are functioning like scissors in a carnassial pair. So they are high crowned. They are pretty tall above the gums, and they slide past each other to chop off hunks of flesh. They also can have crushing molars if they eat the entire animal that they're preying on and have to grind up the bones. So our example here is a dog. And so you can see the incisors, the conical canine teeth. These are premolars and molar teeth, and the fourth premolar and the first molar on the bottom make up the carnassial pair. This view shows you a view from the underside of the cranium, showing the tooth that's part of the carnassial pair, which is tall and sharp, and then the molar teeth that are more for grinding. Then again, because animal matter is easy to digest, there's nothing remarkable about the tongue. They have a simple stomach, short intestines, and a small cecum. If we look at aquatic carnivores, they differ a little bit depending on species, but they tend to have numerous homodont teeth that are spiky in shape. So this is a common dolphin, and you can see all its different teeth and how they're homodont. That's because the food doesn't get processed in the dolphin's mouth. The fish just have to be trapped so they can be swallowed. The stomach differs from species to species. So cetaceans like dolphins have a multi-chambered stomach, whereas other kinds of aquatic carnivores like seals have a simple stomach. The length of the digestive tract is variable, but the cecum is small or absent. Then looking at the special case of sanguinivory, or eating blood, there's a very specialized dentition associated with that. The incisor teeth, that's these teeth right here in the front, are very, very sharp and specialized for making sort of like incisions, making scrapes along the surface of the prey. And that creates a better blood flow than a simple puncture wound that you would do with a canine tooth. So they make that scraping wound. Their saliva has anti-coagulant, can't say the word, so that the blood keeps flowing so that the bat can drink it up. If you look at the cheek teeth, they're very, very tiny. They're not really functional. You don't have to chew blood. So these teeth are not very important to the dentition of the bat, whereas the incisor teeth are extremely important to make that incision. The vampire bat has lots of other specializations to its digestive tract. So its tongue is grooved, and that helps the blood flow very efficiently into the digestive tract. When it gets to the stomach, I like to think of it as sort of like those balloons that you make balloon animals with. It's very, very long, as opposed to being sort of roundish like the stomachs that we find on humans. It's very, very elongated, and it's highly distensible. So that means that just like one of those balloons, as it fills with blood, it gets much longer, and it also gets much wider. So its capacity is really great, even though the structure itself, when it's empty, is very small. It's also got a lot of blood circulation around it, so that it's capable of extracting the liquid from the blood meal, so that it's mostly just concentrated contents of the circulatory system that are moving through the bat's digestive tract, as opposed to mostly water. The digestive tract, though, is fairly long, but the cecum is small or lacking. Now we're going to move to herbivores, and they have a very different architecture to their digestive tract and also to their dentition. So animals that eat a lot of plant material either have absent incisor teeth or very robust incisor teeth for gnawing. In all species, canines are either very reduced in size or completely absent, and that leaves them with a diastema, a space between their incisor teeth and their cheek teeth. And their cheek teeth are large, and the occlusal surface where they grind the food is complex and tends to be sharp, kind of like a grater. So our example is a beaver, and you can see the beaver's very robust incisor teeth that have a very sharp edge to them for gnawing. You can see the diastema that's caused by the absence of canine teeth, and then here are the cheek teeth. And if we don't have a second picture, sorry. All right, nothing remarkable about the tongue. The stomach is simple if it's a hindgut fermenter. So the beaver that we looked at is a hindgut fermenter. It has a large cecum, but it has a simple stomach. In ruminants, though, the stomach has multi-chambers. The digestive tract is long, and the cecum is large, and the cecum in both hindgut fermenters and ruminants has a colony of microbes in it that can digest cellulose, as does the stomach of ruminants. So plant material is hard to digest. It takes a more complex dentition to process and grind up the food to increase the surface area so that the microbes within the cecum or within the rumen, that part of the multi-chambered stomach, are able to have access to more surface area on the food to break it down better. And the long digestive tract allows that to happen. Then filter feeders, these are mostly the baleen whales. So here's a picture of the inside of the mouth of a baleen whale, a humpback whale, and you can see all the strands of baleen hanging down from the upper jaw. And that's how the straining happens when it filters all the krill and all the organisms in the water column through its mouth. They have multi-chambered stomachs. Here's a really nice article you might want to read about the digestive tract in different whale species, but this shows you, here's the esophagus and then different compartments of the stomach creating multiple chambers. And this functions very similar to the multi-chambered stomach that we see in herbivores, and probably has a role in breaking down chitin. Chitin is the exoskeleton of arthropods, and it is also very durable and complex carbohydrate, just like cellulose, so it's very difficult to break down. So filter feeders, like these baleen whales, also have a cecum, and in this case, the microbes in the cecum are not digesting cellulose, they're digesting chitin. Finally, we have omnivores, and they basically have compromise in their dentition and in their digestive tract. So they eat both plant and animal material, so what they have is sort of a mix of what we see in herbivores and carnivores. They tend to have sharp incisors and canines and flat cheek teeth that have rounded cusps like hills and valleys. And you just need to think about our own dentition. We have very typical omnivore dentition. Our example is a bear, and you can see the incisors, the well-defined canine teeth, the premolars here, and then the molar teeth that look a lot like our molar teeth. The stomach is simple. The digestive tract is relatively long compared to carnivorous species. And then the cecum is small. So from this comparison, even though there are unique differences with different kinds of feeding habits, the basic pattern relates to whether the species eats mostly animal matter or mostly plant matter. Plant material is hard to digest. That's the important take-home message that relates to understanding the different structures and physiology.